Kristen is a kind, nice girl. Back in her childhood, she used to live in a village, used to be a little overweight, and even though her life is completely different now, she's still insecure about her past. Her mom has a drinking problem, and she has no relationship with her. Kristen moved to the city to start a career working in a bank. At her job, she needs to make tough decisions, and this is where she struggles the most. She's a people pleaser and has a hard time saying no to people. She has a wonderful, caring boyfriend who admires her for who she is, kind, funny, and beautiful. And that's great, she really is a catch, a loving, caring, feminine woman who will make a great wife and mother. However, not everyone sees her in this light. Other people see Kristen's kindness as weakness and as an invitation to walk over her, manipulate her, and use her the way they need to. Her boss does that.
And maybe on your way back you could pick me up a turkey club?
Her co-worker does that.
You mind picking one up for me? Thanks.
Clients probably do that all the time to her, just like Mrs. Ganesh. The psychic does that to her.
Perhaps someone has cursed you.
As any deceiver, he's great at reading people. Just by looking at her, he can tell that she'll give him all her money willingly. Kristen is like a magnet for people who want to take advantage of her. Her boyfriend is the only one who doesn't take advantage of her, who treats her right, like a real gentleman. He cares about her, protects her. However, this is not really necessary, or shouldn't be the case all the time. An adult needs to be able to protect themselves. And Kristen is not a baby anymore. Moreover, her boyfriend has his own life, his career and friends. He's not going to always be there guarding her. So it's a good idea for Kristen to cultivate independence, ability to say no, and protect her boundaries. Kindness is a great human quality. However, it has to go along with firmness and confidence.
Oh, the one from the farm?
Yeah, Mom, the girl I've been dating for almost a year.
Kristen overhears a conversation her boyfriend has with his mother, and this serves as a trigger for her to start taking action regarding her long-awaited promotion. An opportunity to make a tough decision that her boss wants her to take presents itself very quickly on this very day. When Mrs. Ganesh tries to manipulate Kristen by making her feel compassion towards her,
No, please, this is my home.
and when this doesn't work, she tries to blame Kristen for her own problems that she had created herself. Kristen says no to Mrs. Ganesh, and this is probably the first time she ever said no to anyone. This doesn't come easily to Kristen, but she does it, and it is the right thing to do. Rules are rules. Just like her boyfriend later will tell her that Mrs. Ganesh knew well enough that this was coming, and she had been given opportunities to pay her debt a few times before. Yet, Kristen, since this whole saying no thing is so new to her, is very insecure. She lacks confidence so much that it's written on her face, and this woman tries her last trick and makes a scene in the bank. She knows that this will make Kristen remember this incident and regret her decision to deny her inquiry. Sure enough, Kristen starts overthinking this situation, starts replaying it over and over in her head.
Shame.
She probably thought about it all day and couldn't concentrate on work. She felt so upset that even the prospect of her promotion that her boss hinted at didn't make her happy. The scene in the parking lot where Kristen is being attacked by Ganesh is the visual representation of the war going on inside of Kristen's head. After making the right decision for the first time in her life, she starts regretting it because this type of behavior is so new, so fresh. Her saying no muscles are so weak that she's freaking out because of all the pain she's experiencing after doing this single workout when she said no to a client. Of course, she wants to go back to her old ways, to the things she used to do all the time. It's familiar, therefore safe and desirable. When she was people-pleasing, she thought of herself as a good person, a nice girl. And now she thinks she's bad, that she's a bitch. And what we think about ourselves internally, we get validation of in the real world. And everything that we see happening to Kristen is really happening in her head. These are all the self-destructive thoughts she has. She's doing it to herself. Her boyfriend doesn't try to convince her that she's wrong. He helps her when he can, but then again, he can't live this life for her. He has his own life too. She's looking for ways to get rid of this weight off her shoulders, to get rid of her new identity, of this new Kristen who showed her toughness and finally said no, and finally was going to get the raise at her job. But no, she wants to go back to her old and familiar life, and she regrets rejecting Mrs. Ganesh more than anything. She turns to a psychic for help and listens to his advice. She sacrifices her kitten in hopes she would be free from this burden, but it doesn't help. I see her sacrificing her kitten as a metaphor too. It's like she's trying to fix her own inner problems with the help of those closest to her. You know how some people like to blow off steam at their partners or children and scream at their children for no reason just because they had a bad day at work and screwed up at their job? It's like using someone else to fix your own issues, but that always has a temporary effect. This is exactly what happens in Kristen's situation. So she goes back to the psychic for a higher dose of manipulation, and she gets it.
Powerful forces we're dealing with. There are no guarantees.
However, not for free. Previously, he was politely returning her $60, all because he knew he would be able to ask for more later.
$10,000 cash by tomorrow.
And then we see this spirit summoning scene at the end of which the psychic lady dies. Oh, the spirit was so powerful that it killed her. You get the idea. Kristen's problems are so difficult and complicated, there's just no way out of it. Only death, which, spoiler alert, is exactly what will happen to our poor Kristen. She tries another trick which involves giving the button to someone else, which will make her free of the so-called demon and make this person's life a nightmare. But she can't bring herself to do that to someone, so she comes up with another plan. She digs out Ganesh's coffin and hands her the button. And it works. She's in a good mood, she's going on vacation with her wonderful boyfriend. Right before that, she got a call from her boss saying that she earned her raise. Everything is coming back to normal. But then she goes back to her old ways. Remember how her boyfriend told her not to be late?
7:30, don't be late.
He didn't just say that. She probably is always late to their dates. And she knows she's late, but she sees that coat in a window of a shop. And even though they're closed, she manipulates the shop assistant to make an exception for her.
My boyfriend and I are taking this really special trip this morning.
Just like Ganesh asked her before. See how this time she becomes the manipulator when she needs something. The shop assistant probably suffers from the same allergy to saying no as Kristen, so she agrees and Kristen arrives at the last minute to the train station. And then she says the thing that will destroy her life. She says the words that will cost her everything.
I could have given Mrs. Ganesh another extension on her loan. It was wrong with me.
She proves with those words that she hasn't learned anything from all of this experience. She says that she could have helped Ganesh. She says she regrets it and she will further continue to melt when people use manipulations on her.
You have such a good heart.
The boyfriend hears only the good in all of what she says. He probably thinks how kind she is, that she's going to be a great mother for their children, etc. And then that button appears in his hands as a symbol, as a proof that she again accepted this quote-unquote kindness bullshit into her life. And the look of surprise on her face. Is this really surprising? You just admitted to being the doormat in your life. And this is why you get this punishment. And then she falls on the rails and gets hit by a train, leaving her boyfriend with this stupid button. Her death is also like a metaphor. Maybe she didn't really die. She just subscribed to the life where she can't protect her boundaries and continues to people please. And now the boyfriend has the button, because he's with her now. They are going to get married and become a family unit. Her weakness will affect him too. That's what the button in his hands represents. What are your thoughts on this film? Did you relate to any of the characters? I certainly did relate to Kristen. I am literally her. Even though I realize it, I sometimes feel myself slip back to my old ways. It's a work in progress. I continue working on protecting my boundaries and saying no when I want and need to. And I could see my husband and Kristen's boyfriend too. I sure want to spare him the pleasure of protecting me in everyday life. Supporting one another in a relationship is great, but it gets toxic when one depends on the other and cannot live and function without the other. If you relate to this topic of boundaries and saying no, you can check out my 2 other videos on the films Mother and Vivarium. Thank you for watching. See you soon.